Please help me. I need 100 subscribers. I had always trusted Claire. From the moment we met at a mutual friend's dinner party, something about her laughter and the way she looked at the world made me feel like I had finally found someone who saw me. Not just the man I appeared to be, but everything underneath. We'd been engaged for nearly a year, planning a wedding that neither of us wanted to be ordinary. Every detail had been discussed, every guest list vetted, every promise whispered in quiet moments. I thought I knew her completely. Then came the girls' trip. Claire had insisted it was just a weekend getaway with her closest friends, a private escape, she called it. She wouldn't share the location or the hotel. I tried to respect her need for space, but there was something in her tone, sharp and deliberate, that made my gut twist. You don't need to know, Ethan, she said, her voice carrying a weight I hadn't heard before. It's a girls' trip. I'll be back when I'm back. I nodded, pretending calm, but inside a storm had already begun to build. I had learned in my career, private investigation, that trust is earned, but so is vigilance. You don't ignore the first flicker of doubt, no matter how much you want to believe in someone. I kept my focus on other things, convinced that perhaps I was overthinking. Yet, there was a quiet tension in our last week together before the trip. The usual excitement, the playful teasing, the planning we always did, had vanished. Claire's friends, she said, were just supportive women, her confidants. But the way she avoided details, how she tensed when I asked about flights or hotels, left a taste of suspicion I couldn't swallow. I spent the first night of her absence in a restless fog, pacing the apartment that had been ours for 3 years. Every laugh from her group chat notifications echoed like a warning. I wasn't a jealous man, but something about secrecy always felt dangerous. A small, nagging voice inside reminded me, if this were truly innocent, there would be no need for such strict boundaries. By the second day, I had made a decision. Not out of paranoia, but out of necessity. I needed to know, because love without truth is not love at all. If Claire was hiding something, I had to uncover it. Not to punish her, but to protect myself from walking blindly into a future that might be built on lies. I started following the trail, subtle at first. Phone logs, posts, comments, hints of location from mutual friends. Nothing flashy, nothing invasive. Just pieces of the puzzle she had thought she could keep private. And that's when I found the first real clue. A photo posted accidentally. A hotel lobby I knew too well. The background unmistakably familiar. My stomach dropped. This wasn't just a weekend getaway. This was something she thought I wouldn't see, wouldn't notice. I felt that old familiar mix of heartbreak and resolve. The exact emotion that always preceded the turning point in every case I had ever worked on. The more I dug, the more the picture became clear. And the more my heart sank. Claire's trip wasn't just about wine tastings and spa afternoons as she had described. Each new clue painted a story I wasn't ready to accept, yet couldn't ignore. There were late-night posts from people I didn't know, tagged with the same hotel, the same city. And in each one, subtle glimpses of Claire, laughing, leaning closer to someone who wasn't me, sharing moments that should have been ours alone. I told myself to stay calm, to act rationally. I wasn't just a man scorned. I was a professional who knew how to observe without reacting. If I let anger or fear take over, I'd risk making mistakes. Every private investigator I had trained with would have approved of my restraint, but my personal life made it infinitely harder to stay detached. I had shared 3 years of my life, 3 years of trust, and suddenly, the foundation felt shaky beneath my feet. By the third day, I had my plan. I needed concrete evidence, something undeniable, something that would leave no room for doubt. Not just for me, but for anyone who questioned my reaction later. I contacted a reliable source, someone who owed me more than a favor, and within hours I had verification. Photos, timestamps, messages that confirmed what I had feared. The betrayal wasn't vague. It wasn't accidental. It was deliberate, calculated, and hidden in plain sight. And yet, I didn't rush to confront her. I didn't storm into the hotel or send angry texts. That would have been impulsive. The kind of reaction that gets lost in a storm of emotion. Instead, I waited, letting her complete the trip, allowing her to return home thinking nothing had changed. The contrast between her confidence and my silent certainty, gave me a strange clarity. I knew exactly how the conversation would go when the time came. I knew exactly what I would say, how I would reveal the truth, and how I would ensure that justice, of a personal and emotional kind, was finally served. The day she was supposed to return, I arrived early at the airport. Not to meet her with open arms, but with the proof in hand. Every step through the terminal, every glance at the arrivals board, reinforced the tension that had been building for days. Claire walked in, expecting excitement, expecting me to greet her as though nothing had happened. Instead, she found me standing there, calm, composed, holding evidence that would stop the wedding before it even began. Her eyes widened, and for the first time, the confident facade cracked. She had assumed privacy meant impunity, but privacy, I had learned, was never enough to hide the truth from someone who knew exactly where to look. Claire froze the moment our eyes met. That confident smile, the one I had fallen for 3 years ago, faltered. She searched my face for anger, for blame, perhaps for tears, but found only calm. I didn't speak immediately. Silence, I had learned, is a far more powerful weapon than any accusation. I handed her the first photo, then the next, then a series of messages that left no room for misinterpretation. Her gasp was quiet, almost delicate, but it carried the weight of realization. Ethan. She began, but I held up my hand. There was nothing left to explain, no excuses that could undo the betrayal. The truth was evident, and for the first time, I saw her without the rose-colored filter I had been wearing for years. She had been planning, scheming, thinking she could maintain a facade while we moved forward toward a life that wasn't real. I could feel the shift in her posture, the subtle shrinking of someone who had always been so self-assured. I took a deep breath, steadying myself for the moment I had envisioned since the first clue. Claire, I said calmly. This was supposed to be private, wasn't it? You thought I wouldn't know, that I wouldn't see. But I did. She looked down, unable to meet my gaze. And I realized the final piece of the puzzle had fallen into place. Trust had been broken, and it could never be fully repaired. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't yell. I didn't throw the photos at her. Instead, I let the weight of truth hang in the air, letting her realize the consequences of every hidden glance, every whispered conversation she thought I wouldn't uncover. The wedding would not happen. The engagement was over. And in that moment, the power had shifted. I wasn't the man deceived. I was the man who had uncovered the truth, who had acted with clarity and purpose, and who would walk away with dignity intact. Claire finally spoke, her voice trembling. Ethan. I'm so sorry. But I shook my head. Apologies were meaningless now. Actions had consequences, and the proof in my hand was more than enough to ensure that. I turned and walked away, not because I wanted to punish her, but because I had chosen myself first, for the first time in years. The proof had stopped the wedding, but more importantly, it had freed me from a future built on lies. As I stepped outside, the airport bustle continued around me, oblivious to the storm that had just concluded. And for the first time in what felt like forever, I felt lighter, unburdened, and finally free to start again, knowing I had faced betrayal head-on and emerged unbroken.